Hey, so in today's video, I'm finally going to be reviewing the Lethal Cosmetics eyeshadows. Lethal Cosmetics is an indie brand based in Germany. I bought this palette back in December 2019, so I have pretty well-rounded thoughts on these shadows. I mainly have mattes in this palette, but I do have 3 metallic shades, and we're just going to get into it in this review. I'm going to be obviously reviewing the shadows, sharing swatches, some different looks that I've done, and also I have a tutorial at the very end of the video if you want to stick around for that. So let's start off reviewing the eyeshadows, specifically the mattes first. I absolutely adore Lethal's matte formula. I completely fell in love with this palette. The first time I have used this palette was in my Lethal Cosmetics palette bingo. I will link that video down below. The mattes are so creamy, pigmented, and easy to blend. Like, I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. I haven't found mattes this soft and creamy, especially look at this pastel shade, Crossroads. Like, that's pigment. Pastels and really deep mattes are really hard to formulate typically, and I've gone through a lot of different pastels. I've tried many different berries and teals and all of that stuff. I was so shocked with the shade Unity right here, this really dark berry matte. It is not patchy in the slightest. It just blends so beautifully on the lid. It deepens up looks so nicely, and I find that whenever I use deep berries, they typically can lean a bit more grey or look black on the lid, which if I wanted a black shadow, I would reach for a black eyeshadow. I wanted this, not grey. This one doesn't do that. It shows up true to colour in the pan. All of these shades actually show up true to colour on the lids. I was so impressed by the berry shades, and especially by this shade right here called Petrichor. This is by far the best teal eyeshadow I have ever found. I've tried many teal eyeshadows from many different brands, and typically they're not the best. They're okay, but they're not the best. Typically there is some issue with patchiness or blendability. I found that a lot of teals, you can only really pack them on the lid and blend them slightly and then leave them alone, because otherwise if you blend them even more, they won't stick to your lid and they will look grey. But I was so impressed with Petrichor. It is such a beautiful teal. I don't really see anything wrong with the Lethal matte shades. Now, the metallics, however, like I said, I only have 3, these 2 blues and this beautiful lime green. Their metallics are a little bit lackluster for me. I just want to show you an example of a metallic that I like versus these ones. So I'm just going to reach into my Kaleidos Futurism 5 Electro Turquoise palette, and I'm going to be taking the shade Tron right here. It is a beautiful, soft, sparkly teal shade. Well, turquoise shade. Do you see the reflection? Do you see that, like, intense foiled reflection? Now, let me swatch the shade Mirage. I believe this is called Mirage. In comparison, these are quite hardly pressed. They're not as soft as the matte shades. The mattes do have a little bit of kick up in the pan, which I don't mind at all. I prefer softer eyeshadows, but these are a bit more firmly pressed. Let me just swatch it right next to the Kaleidos. Do you see how this one's the Kaleidos one right here? This is the Lethal one. They're pretty. I mean, the shades are definitely completely different, but they just aren't as in your face as the type of metallics that I like. I just turned down the brightness so you can really see the comparison of Kaleidos versus Lethal. They're a pretty metallic shade, but this is the type of metallic that I like, the super high shine, intense, sparkly shade. These ones are just standard shimmers to me, and there's not that much of a shine to them like you see with the Kaleidos one. Now that is just me being picky, but I just thought it would be good to mention. Their metallics are good, but I find that you have to use them with a glitter glue. My favourite glitter glue is the NYX glitter glue. Usually I prefer using shadows with a glitter glue anyways, but I find that with the Lethal shadows, you need to use a glitter glue unless you're just putting it on the inner corner. I do love the shade Vertex right here because it is the most unique shadow in my collection. I don't have a lime green metallic, so unless you find a metallic in Lethal's lineup that is so unique to you and you're like, wow, I don't have a shade anything like that in my collection, I'd say generally avoid the Lethal metallics. They're just average in my opinion, and I just think it's well worth it getting their mattes. Their mattes are definitely worth it. Also, I forgot to mention that the metallic shades get hard pan very quickly. At least, I don't know if you can see on this shade right here. Do you see how there's like that texture in the pan? That's hard pan. These get hard pan really quickly, so you can't even really apply them with your fingers because otherwise they will get hard panned like that. So you really need to apply them with a really stiff, spiky brush. Does that make sense? Also, I forgot to mention that these shadows last all day on me. I use the Milani eyeshadow primer and they last just fine on my lids. They last all day, no creasing, no fading, and I've used these with a concealer as an eye base as well, and again, same thing. They don't crease, they don't fade, they last all day. I'm just going to flash up a few looks that I have done with these shadows, and just so you can see like how beautiful they look on the lid. Genuinely, I always want to reach for these shadows. I have to force myself to reach for other things. I'm just going on their website on my phone just so I can talk about the price of their single shadows, because I know that that's really important. These prices are going to be in pounds, so prices may vary depending if you're living in the US or in any other European country or somewhere completely different. Their shadows retail for £5.50 each. Some of their metallics retail for £5.70, but just on average, £5.50 is the average price of one lethal shadow. Now, if you use their palette builder or just buy them in a bundle where you buy 12 shadows plus a palette, they will be discounted for you. You do get a, I believe mine, for me, I got a £20 savings when I just purchased all of them at once plus the palette. I believe I paid about £55 or £60 for 12 shadows plus the palette, and the shipping was only £5.50, so just the price of one eyeshadow, which to me, that's totally fine. Like, I'm used to paying shipping for things anyways, so £5.50 is literally nothing to me. However, I do live in the UK, so if you live elsewhere, shipping prices may vary. To me, £5.50 for an eyeshadow is really cheap, and I do think that these are definitely worth the price. I would pay more for the matte shadows. However, for the shimmers, I wouldn't pay the price for the shimmers. I wouldn't do it. They also have 9-pan palette options, which next time I place an order on Lethal, I'm going to be buying their 9-pan palette and filling it with eyeshadows. And their shade selection is really good. There's not too many shades and not too little. There is literally something for everyone. Now, do you need to buy a 12-pan palette and splurge on a bunch of shadows? No. Look through Lethal's website if you're curious on buying anything from Lethal, and just pick out shadows that you want. Don't feel pressured to buy a big mama palette immediately, because buying singles is more expensive than buying a regular palette, but I prefer buying singles over a palette because you get to choose the colours yourself. So that is it for today's review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm now going to be including swatches of the eyeshadows, and I will show you them in artificial light and under natural light. I'll be swatching with my finger on an unprimed arm, and then after that we'll be going into the tutorial section of the video. So without further ado, here are the swatches. Okay, so welcome to the tutorial part of the video. I have zoomed you guys in quite a bit closer so we can demo these shadows. I won't be using all of them in this look today because there are 12 shadows and that would be insane. So yeah, let's get started. I'm first going to be priming my eyes with the Milani eyeshadow primer. First I'm going to go in the shade Crossroads and put that in my crease. Now going in with the shade Yonder, and I'm placing that on the inner half of my crease. Now I'm going to be taking the shade Terminus and I'm blending that on the outer half of my lid. I'm just taking this on a really long pointed fluffy brush. This is one of my favourite brushes, it's from Nabla. We will be packing this shade on as well, but I just want to get a nice blend on the edge. Okay, now I'm taking Terminus on a packing brush and I'm just going to intensify it on the lid because I want this to be on the outer half of the lid as well. On the same fluffy brush, I'm taking a mix of Crossroads and Terminus to help blend out the crease a little bit more. But I'm taking the shade Petrichor and I'm putting that on the inner half of my lid. These are two colours that don't normally blend together really well, so you just have to pick up a tiny bit of product and just pat it over the centre. You do risk this looking muddy, so that's why you want to take the tiniest bit and just gently blend the two. I'm going to go off camera, I'm going to do my base makeup and then we'll be coming back for the rest of the tutorial. Okay, so I did the rest of my face and some mascara. All of the products I used on my face are listed down below. But now I'm going to go back into the shade Terminus and I'm going to put that on the outer half of my lower lash line. Now I'm going in with the shade Relapse, which is a really bright chartreuse green, and I'm going to be putting that on the inner half of my lower lash line. And finally, I'm going to take the shade Vertex and put that on my inner corner. And here is the finished look. If you want to know what I used on my waterline, I used a mix of Colourpop's Teaspoon as well as Colourpop's Electric Daisy, and on my lips I'm wearing the Linda Hallberg Fantastic in the shade Famous. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will hopefully be doing more reviews on my channel. I really want to incorporate more, and I promise I'll be getting better at reviews. This is like my first proper standalone review of a product. If there's anything you want me to review, please do let me know in the comments down below. And you can also follow me on my social medias. I have 2 Instagram accounts, I live stream on Twitch 3 times a week, and my Spotify are all linked down below. I hope you guys are having a great day. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!